Correct. So yeah, welcome to report out. I think we're going to be a little bit light on attendees today because there's a lot going on with the target operating model, but it's good that we're progressing nonetheless. If you don't know who I am, I'm Neil Hammercott. I'm head of the quality improvement team within the trust, and let's just whiz through our normal slides. So just a reminder of our core principles around people first improvement practice. Really important that whatever work we're doing, we're thinking about the person we're caring for at the heart of this, so patient at the heart of all of our improvement work. And the way that we go about doing improvement is to be respectful for colleagues, so that we create a good environment to bring in quality improvement, and also the people that are doing the work know what the issues are and are able to drive the improvement. So it's kind of nurturing that environment as well. And also just a reminder of our 5 pillars of people first improvement practice, which we coach with teams. So teams to have a clear purpose, to do their tests of change in a scientific way using a PDSA type approach, clarity over what work needs to be done each day with production metrics, and then a regular opportunity for the team to come together to talk about how they can improve the work through improvement huddles and team health, focusing on team behaviours as well. So we've got 3 things on the agenda. Rather unusually, I'm giving an update because of absentees, but I'm going to just give a little bit of an update on Reset Week and positive patient placement, particularly emphasising some of the QI support that we provided there and some of the tools that we've been applying. Marie's going to talk about weekend discharges on Burrator, and last but not least, Amy's here to talk about DNAR bracelets as well. So let's just work our way through. So first presentations from me just around the positive patient placement work, also known as the Reset Week. So for those of you that aren't acquainted with this, this is a test of change that started right at the end of June, where we were looking towards trying to get patients to the correct ward as quickly as possible. So getting continuous flow working through the day and moving set numbers of patients each hour, and then looking at chasing down delays around discharge and other blocks to moving patients as well. This is all very much from an emphasis of trying to improve our front door position and ensure that ambulances that were coming to ED were able to timely hand over their patients and get their patients within the building. And that's a little bit of a schematic around kind of the timetable and the test of change that we've been doing over the timely ambulance handover work. So we started off from a QI perspective with a really clear patient ambition, which was, as a patient suffering a medical emergency, I want the ambulance to arrive promptly and to come straight into ED without delay. So starting off very nicely with a clear patient aim, and our before data as well of an average handover time of 120 minutes and over 6,000 hours worth, or just under 6,000 hours worth of ambulance delays in June, or 5,500 hours in June as our kind of baseline position. So I just want to talk a little bit around how some of our quality improvement tools helped shape the change that supported this clinically led work from Sarah Budden and the team within medicine as well. So at the heart of this was continual moves from 7 o'clock in the morning till 4 in the afternoon. So trying to identify suitable patients to move from ED to the assessment areas, and from the assessment areas up to the wards, and then from the wards down to the discharge lounge or direct discharge. And as part of this work, we tested and did various PDSA cycles around various action cards. So that's one of our quality improvement themes around standard work, and that we tweak the standard work based on kind of how we get on as we carry out that particular work. We also did a separate change of opening the discharge lounge at 7 o'clock so that it could be available to receive patients earlier and to facilitate that early flow from 7 till 8 o'clock in the morning. And also over a couple of the weeks as well, we were able to get a little bit of pharmacy tech support down to the discharge lounge to help with the processing and explanation around take-home drugs or TTAs. So we did a discharge lounge PDSA as well, and also one of the issues that came out very early on was around competing portering jobs, particularly around delivering breakfast boxes to wards, which was delaying some of the moves at 7 o'clock in the morning. So Lawrence, Ricardo, and the guys in portering did a test of change to just tweak their start of day process, and that solved that particular issue. So kind of the message I want to get across is, very much using QI tools and techniques here to drive the change, but also to kind of document what we were doing and to provide that structure. So kind of in in kind of initial summary, we had our 8-step or problem on a page, which was describing the project, clear patient-centered aim, using PDSAs to do that scientifically testing of change, clear before and after data as well. And then when we were running some of these tests and running the incident control center as well, we were using visual management, which is one of our kind of techniques as well, just to see visually how we were doing during the day with a little bit of what we would describe as kind of status exchange or hourly kind of check-ins. And then we had the standard work, and we topped all of this off by having a end of day debrief, so we could then start to build in some of that daily learning and identify and resolve issues. So you can kind of see almost from a case study perspective, really good example of how we can kind of use QI to change in a structured, ordered kind of scientific learning way. So just moving on to the next slide. So this is just our problem on a page for the kind of the positive patient placement work. So you can see some of the key information captured there, and the benefit of having that project on a page is we've kind of got that clear visibility in terms of what we're working on, the before and after data, what our target is, and also some of the tests of change that we're taking forward too. So results so far, before doing the various PDSAs, we had a 120-minute average handover time. That dropped down to 43 minutes the following month in July, so 64% improvement. You can see we've got data from the month of August and September to today in the bar chart as well. So you can see it creeping up a little bit, but still over July and August substantially better than previous months. And then similarly measured in terms of handover hours lost, going from just under 5,500 hours to 2,250. So a good 60% improvement as well. So that's a little bit of an overview in terms of some of the work that we've been doing on positive patient placement. What another kind of very important dynamic for us around change is bringing staff with us and getting staff engaged with the changes that we make as well. So what I want to share with you, if the technology is going to work, is I just want to play a short video which was presented to our AGM around positive patient placement, which just explains a little about what we were doing and also get some real kind of clear voice of the staff feedback into it as well. So hopefully the technology is going to work. Let's just see how we get on. The sound. Okay. So I'm just going to pause the video because I'm getting feedback from colleagues that we haven't got any sound on the video. So I think what we'll do instead is there's if people want to have a look at the video, then have a look at it in the pack, and I'll pop that into the chat, so you can have a little bit of a look at it there. And let me just move on to the next slide. Just bear with me a second. So I think we're going to end things there for positive patient placement. So thank you just for working with me on that slight technological glitch. So just before we move on, any questions, comments from the group? I don't know if there's anything in the chat. I'm not seeing anything. So I think we'll move on to you, Marie, just to talk about the work that you've been doing with the team on Burritor. So the floor is yours, and let me know when you want me to change slides as well.
Thank you. So hi, I'm Marie. I'm an improvement lead at the Quality Academy, and I've been working with the Burritor Ward team to complete my practice coach certification. So our focus has been improving simple weekend discharges. Next slide, please. So in any health care improvement, the patient voice is key. So patients who are ready to go home, they don't want to wait till Monday. They want to be discharged safely at weekends, and like me, get home and watch the football. Next slide, please. So before we started the pilot on Burritor Ward, we looked at the current position of simple weekend discharges on the ward. So over a 10-week period, there was only one weekend with 3 discharges, which was far lower than other GIM wards, which meant there was a clear opportunity for improvement. Next slide, please. So using the improvement tools from my training and undertaking a go-see on the ward, we were able to create a fishbone diagram highlighting areas for improvement. Fishbone sort of helps to break down problems into categories, so nothing is overlooked, and it helps to sort of engage multiple team members, sharing their insights and helping them to prioritise what's causing the problems, contributing to the problem. So throughout the pilot, I undertook a PDSA to allow us to test out small ideas, reducing the risk and encouraging cycles of action and reflection. Both these tools work well together, as the fishbone helps you to sort of find the root cause of the problem, and the PDSA will help you test and improve the solutions to those root causes. The first step of the pilot was to meet with the key stakeholders to review the data and agree the pilot. And following this, it was agreed that I would undertake a go-see on the ward and spend time with the clinical nursing and administrative staff to understand the current discharge planning and their MDD processes and how this includes their weekend discharges. So using the voice of the process and data, it was agreed I would spend time on Stannon and Shipley as well to understand their weekend discharge processes, and the learning from both wards was shared with the ward, and we agreed we would undertake a trial of the weekend discharge plan on Burritor Ward. So following the PDSA tests, we agreed the template needed to be changed to have more visuals on criteria-led discharge and virtual ward patients, and the ward continued to trial the plan, and I continue to attend the MDT meetings. One of the benefits we noticed with the better weekend planning was an increase in the number of Friday discharges from the ward, and following this we felt the template could be changed again to capture patients' details to highlight who had gone home early and identify anyone that was unable to go home to better understand the reasons why. Next slide, please. So as part of the pilot, we adapted the ward template. Having the standard work in place helps to ensure the tasks performed in the same way every time, regardless of who's doing it, and it helps to reduce variation. Being able to use the PDSA method to test the change ensured we were able to eliminate wasted steps, and it helped to provide a basis for continuous improvement, which can now be shared across other wards in medicine. Next slide, please. So whilst using my 8-step, I've been able to monitor the current condition and track the results of the pilot. My target to obtain practice coach was to achieve a 10% improvement and support the ward in increasing the average of simple discharges from 0.38 to 0.55. But this wasn't enough for them, and they've managed to increase it to a current average of 1.13. And they're now discharging a minimum of 1 patient or P0 patient over the weekend, which has given a total improvement percentage of 197%. Next slide. Just before I give an opportunity to ask any questions, I just wanted to extend a heartfelt thank you to all the staff I've worked with on Burrator Ward for their collaboration and commitment, and a special thank you to Paul Daniel and the team for his coaching and supporting me through my practice coach journey. Thank you. Any questions?
I have a question, Marie.
Vicky, away you go.
Congratulations, well done. Very proud of you, and you've done some great groundwork with regards to us being able to then try and roll this out further across medicine. What has been the most beneficial tool that you have used from your practice coach training that has seen the biggest impact in your improvement?
For me personally, the PDSA, I think being able to test the small parts of change, I think, and track it and know actually you can decide not to run with something and go with something else, and just keep that continuous improvement going.
Brilliant. Well done.
Thank you.
And Marie, a huge well done from me. Very happy to award you your practice coach certificate for achieving more than a 10% improvement.
Thank you.
And what I particularly liked is you've demonstrated use of a range of the QI tools, so that's really good. That's what it's all about, getting confident with using the tools and seeing the benefit of them, and doing things that lead to benefit for patients. So really well done. And I think what I would say more widely with the Burrator work is some really good feedback at a recent Medicine Care Group event, where both Geraldine, the service line director, the matron Christy, and also Abraham from the wider clinical team were giving some really good feedback around the team having a fresh focus around kind of weekend activity, focusing on the art of the possible rather than talking about what they couldn't do over the weekend. And I think what was particularly good learning for kind of all of us, yourself included, around this is actually by doing that earlier identification on a Thursday, it gives us Thursday afternoon and Friday to get things in place that then maximizes our chances for the weekend. And you mentioned in your presentation around there's been an increase in Friday activity. I think also what's coming out in your data as well is there's been the odd extra P1 kind of package of care discharge on a weekend, and I think that's testament to the ward doing that work on the Thursday and Friday and almost getting first dibs from the weekend slots that are available from the integrated hospital discharge team as well. So really well done, and great that you got through your journey as well. So perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. So let's just move on. So Amy, delighted that you're able to join us to talk about the work that you've been doing in interventional cardiology. So the floor will just be yours in a second, but just shout out when you want me to change slides and I'll do the honors for you. But
Okay.
Well, welcome aboard. I'm very interested to hear what you've got to say.
Okay, thank you. Hi everyone, my name is Amy Corliss. I'm a nurse on Bickley Ward within Plymouth, which is interventional cardiology. Next slide, please. So the aim of my preceptorship quality improvement project was to introduce a DNAR wristband to act as a visual aid to reduce inappropriate delays in commencing CPR in cardiac arrests. So on the left here, we've got sort of the current status. So we've got that the DNAR status is not currently visible at the bedside. So there's a potential for unwanted resuscitation and a delay in decision making, with it being sort of in the medical files and sort of on computer systems, which then would cause emotional distress for patients, families and staff, and compromise patient dignity and autonomy as well. So aim to improve it by introducing the coded wristband would be to act as a visual aid to be used in sort of cardiac arrest situations, to sort of improve staff confidence in the decisions when the emergencies occur, to have a reduction in the delayed decision in commencing CPR, and or not commencing if the patient is not for resus, and also a reduction to financial costs to the NHS. Next slide, please. So I have the 3 sections here for is the change and improvement. So it just goes through the current condition, which just reiterates there that the indicators at the moment don't remain with the patient, that we're relying on paper documentation and computerized system, which sometimes can be hard to find when we're trying to chase down the medical files, and also delays in accessing the systems when we need them, which can result in delays or errors in emergency response. So to measure this, sort of the number of patients with a DNR status sort of within the departments, and any sort of information for the number of inappropriate or the delays in any attempts in cardiac arrest situations, and sort of the time wasted, and the sort of impact that has on the patients, and data collection, to audit the number of patients with with an active DNAR already in place. Again, sort of trying to find the details of the inappropriate CPR incidents across sort of 3 to 6 months intervals to measure that. We currently do daily sort of wristband checks anyway as part of sort of medication rounds, and daily TEP statuses is what we do as part of our as part of each night shift, going through sort of people's current statuses, and also doing staff surveys across sort of the medical and sort of the nursing staff about the implementation at sort of different levels, just to see if it's sort of any improvement, and also any financial impact or changes. Next slide, please. This slide here is just some statistics, just to put into context sort of the number of inpatient cardiac arrests. So this information was taken from the National Cardiac Arrest Audit. So this, the pie chart on the left is from the 2022 to 23. So it just shows the time between a hospital admission and the event of the cardiac arrest. So you can see quite a big portion there, sort of almost half is within sort of the first day of admission. And then you've got the purple section here, which is 31%, which is 2 to 7 days. And then the blue section, which is still quite a significant number of patients, 23%, which is over 8 days admission. So I think it's just trying to reiterate to staff as well that if they have a status when they first come into hospital, that some, quite a lot of arrests are still happening after they've been in hospital for 8 days. So it's just trying to put things in place that if their sort of clinical, their clinical situation changes, and if they do deteriorate, maybe their decision sort of changes as well. And on the right, there is the age of the patient at the cardiac arrest as well. So I was sort of looking at the figures here, quite a big section again of cardiac arrests are for patients under 65, sort of one of the biggest categories. So sort of having these conversations with sort of youngest generations, obviously depending, on comorbidities and, terminal illnesses and things like that, sort of going from the data that's collected on the ages. Next slide, please. Here we have the PDA cycle. So about planning and what we're going to do, sort of trying to develop sort of a design sort of with stakeholders to try and sort of, keep it as clear as sort of as safe as possible, and educating staff on the ward, and then the implementation, sort of running a pilot on the ward, is again, like I mentioned earlier, we do daily wristband checks sort of on medication rounds anyway, so these can be checked sort of during that. Also sort of introducing like a compliance audit to check weekly against sort of the daily ones that we have, any sort of feedback, and extending sort of the time frame to sort of reevaluate the different intervals, and then onto the study to sort of evaluate how the pilot has gone, and to analyze any before and after data, any sort of inappropriate CPR attempts made, and any sort of reduction sort of in costs. And ACT being the final one, which was what was the outcome of the pilot, and sort of adapt and refine. So sort of one that I thought of, for the adaptation, for it being implemented is like with the us due to be changing our systems. So where we currently use the software system that we do, and then where we're going to be sort of soon changing across to the Epic system, where the wristbands would still be able to be used and still be able to sort of be introduced, but then sort of adapting it depending on sort of how it then appears on the system and things like that. So sort of continuing to sort of monitor it and change it as needed. And on the right side, there's just a bit of a financial impact. So I managed to get some information from our legal team. Very interesting. There was a case in 2022 where there was a failure to follow a DNA order, and a patient was resuscitated, and as a result went on to have poor quality of life post resuscitation, and that cost the trust £53,000. And I came across a report from doing some research online that there were 52 patients who were terminally ill that were given CPR over a 2-week period. So it was just there just to sort of sum up really just the financial impact that it can have. Next slide, please. And this is to just summarise sort of the improvement, and the aim of my QI project was just to act as a clear visual indicator to improve staff confidence, communication across shifts and departments, and to act as a visual aid for medical team as well, sort of when they're doing their rounds, to sort of spark conversations around TEP statuses. No inappropriate CPR attempts, and no sort of delays as a result of that as well, and that the wristband remains with the patient at all times, and hopefully reducing the cost to the NHS from legal claims, and also for sort of for hospital stays as well. Some challenges that I sort of picked up along the way was some privacy concerns from patients and families that may arise. Also about managing updates to TEP status, about sort of how to sort of monitor that, and where we have patients that have a do not resuscitate in place, but they have sort of caveats to that as well, so that they might be for CPR but not want to be for ICU. So what you would sort of do in those circumstances, and patients with an active DNAR status but prior to admission to hospital, so where patients are being admitted to ED with already having one of these statuses from the community or from the GP, and then they're sort of having their cardiac arrest within the first sort of day of being there, and then sort of resulting in CPR possibly that they CPR that they don't want, and sort of colour conflicts with sort of the design with sort of allergy statuses and other wristbands that are used currently for like falls risks and things. Currently sort of exploring sort of different options. I'm currently still liaising with our local resus team just to try and get a bit more data about the not for resus. I found that the information that was provided on the National Cardiac Arrest Audit, a lot of the information there was for patients which didn't have a DNAR status. So obviously those figures and things are going to be higher again than the ones that I've provided, and to hopefully maybe initiate it as a pilot throughout the world. Next slide, please. So for this one, I'm going to have to apologise for my design skills and my PowerPoint skills. They're not the best, but this is some things that I had in mind when I gave my original presentation. So just some sort of different options about potentially having like a different colour, and then how that would then be incorporated with having patients that have an allergy as well. So some feedback that I had on the day from the preceptorship team was sort of the to sort of not complicate and to sort of utilize what we already have. So with like the one on the bottom right, which shows just the white background with a patient that has the red sort of border of the allergy status, and then just having a symbol on there which marks that the patient wouldn't be for resus. Next slide, please. And this is the last one. It's just to thank you for your time and for the opportunity to be able to present it. And I've popped my email address if anybody would like to give me any feedback or comments. It'd be very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, and very well done, Amy. Really good presentation and a fascinating kind of topic as well. And I'll pick out a couple of things out of the comments as well, and then ask for any kind of questions. Particularly liked your focus around having kind of really good visual management, so we can kind of tell at a glance what the status is for the patient, which is kind of one of our classic QI kind of concepts, and real big focus in terms of doing the right thing here for for patients as well, because I'm just going to pick up on Marie's comment in the chat around a series that she was involved in where a patient was resuscitated against their wishes. That's clearly a situation we want to avoid from a patient perspective. So to be able to trial this and to do this to make an improvement is brilliant for our patients. And I really like your positivity all the way through. So it's kind of like, well, we then came up with this particular issue, but actually that's just something that I'm curious about that I can explore, and then I can come up with a way of kind of countering that. So that's exactly what we're always trying to encourage, a kind of positive kind of approach to change. Vicky's got her hand up, and I'm waffling on enough, so I'll let her come in with a question.
Well done, Amy. I just wanted to ask you, so obviously you've done this off the back of your preceptorship QI project. How do you feel? Do you feel empowered to be able to continue to make change and to take this forward to make changes for our patients?
I do. I've actually found it really interesting. I think because since I've been with Bickley, obviously I've had 4 cardiac arrests that have happened sort of on the ward whilst I've been on shift, and sort of I'm coming up to almost a year of being there now. And we've had a bit of a drive sort of with just TEP discussions in general. We had sort of our head of governance involved from where TEP discussions weren't being had, and we were having patients sort of be either admitted to the ward or be on the ward without having sort of these discussions. So we were sort of being asked to Datex any TEPs that hadn't been sort of updated within like 24 hours or 48 hours of them being on the ward. And I had a patient that actually suffered a stroke, which they think was due to him possibly going into AF at the time. And he didn't have his STEP status, and he'd been not on the ward for 4 days, but he had been sort of within the trust for 4 days. And it was then sort of seeing him leave the ward, not being able to sort of communicate his needs, and then not knowing what he would have wanted because he had a lot of more sort of comorbidities as well. So I think having that and having these discussions after events like this that happen with the medical team as well, and that the doctors are finding it just as much as sort of the nursing staff. And I think some of the medical team are finding that there is a bit of a stigma around it, and whether that's due to sort of their confidence or different things that pop up, and some people don't want to have the discussion, but just from having that patient as well leave and then not knowing what his wishes were. So yeah, I think it's something that could, well, I'm saying easily, I'd like to think that it could be easily implemented, but something that would then remain throughout the patient throughout their journey whilst they're in hospital.
Yeah, brilliant. Well done. I think it's a great project. Well done you.
Thank you.
Yeah, once again, thank you, and a really good presentation as well. So we're always really interested to kind of showcase good ideas and good projects that have come out through the Preceptee route, because we very much enjoy going up doing the training, and the report out's up there as well, so well done. Just going to move on to our final slide, which is just our usual reminder that we are here and very happy for people to get in contact with us for support around their QI work. And there's details of Buck, who's off today, but and our improvement team inbox as well. And just a little bit of a trailer for how things may change a little bit in the future with us kind of moving towards the target operating model. We're thinking about the future of report out, and it may end up being replaced by on rotation kind of weekly divisional improvement walls. So watch this space. We'll get the information out to you once we've got a little bit of a plan post time in terms of what we're doing. But once again, a big thank you to everyone that's contributed today. Great to see some really good improvements that have been going on across the trust, and really pleased to see people continuing their improvement journeys too. So I shall wrap things up there, and have a good rest of the day and rest of the week too. Thanks again, everyone. See you soon.
Thank you.